Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, you don't want veggies in your chicken soup? Got it, kids. Dad told me to never wake him up in the middle of the night again. New boss got the company in lots of trouble. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. You don't want veggies in your chicken soup? Got it, kids. Kids are awesome at malicious compliance, but it is a two-way street. My kids can be picky eaters at times. My wife made some good chicken soup, but the kids were complaining that there were veggies in their chicken soup. They hate veggies, veggies make them sick, and they wanted my wife to pick them out of the soup. We tried to tell them that good chicken soup needs veggies to taste good, but they were being stubborn. I'm sure other parents can understand. I told the kids, if you really hate the taste of veggies, I'll make soup tomorrow, and you guys can make sure I only put stuff in you like. They liked that idea at the time. The next day, I get the pot filled with water, all the typical soup ingredients out, and gathered the kids. I asked for their approval on every item. Chicken, yes. Salt, yes. Black pepper, no. Gross. Too spicy. Celery, no. I can't even stand the smell. Onions, no. It went on with that, with them rejecting parsley, bay leaves, and other veggies. The total contents of the pot ended up being chicken, water, salt, noodles. After the soup was done cooking, I served it up and they excitedly started to eat. A few funny faces later, and one of them said, "It tastes weird. This isn't very good." I said, "But I only put in everything you guys approved. I think, from now on, I should make the soup, right?" They looked at each other and said, "Can we have mom's soup instead?" Since that day, they haven't complained about finding veggies mixed in the food. Sure, they almost always eat around a carrot or green pea, but they understand that it adds flavor. What a good dad teaching your children a valuable lesson in a nice way. Bravo! A method that doesn't involve starving them. Very creative. That's actually a very good idea. Maybe it could also be a gateway to introduce them to cooking at some point. Cooking is such a valuable life skill and everyone should learn at least the basics. I just had that talk with my eldest. One of the mandatory electives at school is going to be a health and cooking class. He really doesn't want to take it. I asked him, "Do you think you will never have to cook for yourself or your family? Why do you not want to take it?" His response was he doesn't want to be forced to eat something he doesn't like. I told him that they aren't going to force him to eat it, but I suggest he taste it so he understands food better. Back when I was a server at a restaurant, we had an amazing lentil soup that this regular's kid adored, but the kid claimed he hated lentils. So the regular, kid's dad, and I would talk all about how I spent so much time picking the lentils out just for him. Of course I did no such thing, it was just a regular cup of soup, but the kid didn't know what a lentil was, so he was always happy to get his lentil-free lentil soup. Love it! Reminds me of when my former so complained that I put too much garlic and onion in the pasta sauce, and surely the vinegar, honey, pepper and other herbs were not necessary? So I let him make a sauce from scratch one day, just as he thought it should be. There were Italian herbs in there, and salt. But nothing to spice it up, nothing to add the touch of sweet, sour and savory that makes it all so delicious. He eagerly started to eat and his face fell immediately. "This tastes like cardboard." Never complained about my recipes again. Instead, he jokingly started complaining on how I ruined his appetite for prefab pasta sauces in jars and he only ever wanted mine anymore. Haha. Dad told me to never wake him up in the middle of the night again. I was 9 years old and woke up from a nightmare. I was scared and couldn't go back to sleep, so I woke up my dad for comfort. He told me to go back to bed and never wake him up for anything ever again. I rarely woke him up for anything, but I made sure not to. A week goes by and it's the weekend, so I'm allowed to sleep on the couch and watch TV. I get up to go pee in the middle of the night, and as I'm walking back, I hear a tapping on the front door. I'm frozen in fear already, and I hear the person trying to open the door for what felt like 3 minutes. They stop, and I see their shadow go across our front yard. I'm still standing there shocked, but glad it was over. Unfortunately, they left to go to the backyard. I could see them, because I was still standing there, trying for the back door. And then I see their hand reach through the doggy door to grab the handle. They were just 2 inches away from it. I was holding my breath at this point. They finally give up and I muster the courage to move again and go back to sleep. The next morning I tell my dad and stepmom about it. They are freaking out and asking, why didn't I wake them up? I reply that I was told not to for anything, and they said it's okay in emergencies. My little brain at the time didn't get it because the nightmare I had felt like an emergency. Haha. How scary to see a hand come in through the doggy door. That's some nightmare fuel right there. That was a messed up thing to say to a 9-year-old, too. You can't help when you have a nightmare, and they suck. I would sleep on the floor next to my parents' bed when I woke up from a nightmare. Man, if that were my house and my 9-year-old saw an arm coming through a dog door, she'd shove a knife into it. That kid don't play. Reminds me when I was like 11 or something and heard sounds coming from downstairs. I was home alone, and the first thing I did was grab a kitchen knife and walk around the house seeing if someone had got in. I was 100% ready to stab someone. LOL reminds me of the time my nurse mother yelled at me for daring to suggest I might be getting pneumonia. It was E. coli. I spent about 5 hours purging every single bit of liquid from my entire body out of every orifice, and when I finally got the courage to call 911, I begged them not to use the lights or sirens because I'd get in trouble. LOL. Doctor said if I'd waited another hour I would have been dead from dehydration. Isn't that hilarious? My mother pretended my illness didn't exist either. Not a single get better soon or should I stock up on chicken noodle soup or even oh that sucks. She legitimately hated me. LOL. Pretty sure she wished the E. coli killed me. I was told I could only wake my parents up if someone was bleeding. They didn't expect that to happen when I accidentally hit myself in the face with a garden sprinkler. My dad worked nights and slept during the day. This was sometime in the afternoon. Had a job where I could bring my dog, changed jobs, and she needed to stay home. Come home one day, and there is 2 fingernails and a very small smear of blood on the floor in front of the doggy door. New boss got the company in lots of trouble. I used to work for a big warehouse, not as big as Amazon, for inventory management. From the first day I noticed that our workflow is super slow due to old software used for the office and warehouse. Since I wanted to impress my boss and my coworkers, I used some of my free time to write a new web-based software that you can even use on your phone. This was super convenient because it allowed my boss, the sales team, and others to literally work while going around the warehouse or while working from home. Even the warehouse staff was impressed since I asked them what they need to see when picking orders. This software was now the heart of the company, and during my time I worked there, it was used a lot and replaced our old software. Now my old boss was about to retire, and together with the new boss, we all met in the warehouse, had cake, and got to know the new boss, who I'll call Eric. He was super nice to everyone, but the next day he showed his true colors. He completely changed our workflow, requested useless stuff from the sales team, added shifts, morning, day, night, to our warehouse workers, and got rid of stuff we barely sell. Within weeks we were all exhausted. 3 people quit. Then Eric came into my office and gave me my 2 weeks notice. I was actually shocked. His response was, "We have 3 IT guys, we don't need that many." On my last day at work, Eric came into my office, looked around and said, "Please make sure to reset your PC and delete any personal data." Now there's one thing Eric doesn't know. The software always checks for a local file on my PC. So if the software can't find that file or the checksum is wrong, it'll display an error and shut down. I asked him again, "You want me to delete every personal file from this PC?" His reply was yes, within the next hour. Cue malicious compliance. I made sure to delete the whole source code of my software, deleted some personal stuff, cleaned my mail folder, and shortly before I was about to leave I pressed DL on file required for the software. As soon as I left the building I saw people standing outside, having a smoke. While I walked to my car, a warehouse worker told me that the whole warehouse is on pause due to some server issues. I made sure to leave as fast as possible. 1 hour later, Eric blew off my phone, demanding the source code from my software. I happily told him that per contract, the software is my property, my old boss even wrote a contract, and that he won't get the source code. He demanded I come into the office and fix everything. I'm sorry, I don't work for you anymore. You wanted me to delete all personal data. The key for the software is also my own file, so I had to delete that too. I heard from some of my friends there that Eric had to buy a license for the old software, and within 3 weeks, he was replaced by another boss. Good story, but people need to learn that if you get canned from a job and then the job calls you demanding extra work from you after realizing they messed up, the answer is always yes, I'd be happy to help you. My freelance consulting rate is $X per hour, billable in 8-hour increments for a minimum of 24 hours. Where X is for X or more what you used to be paid when you worked there. My last job kept calling me after I quit. I sent them a contract for about 3x what my hourly with them was, per hour minimum per instance, or additional tasks during the call would mean a new instance. They took it, called me twice. I worked for 8 additional hours total but billed for like 80. It was a good bonus check while I was finishing moving for my new gig. That's not the way I would have done it. As per contract, that software belongs to me. We can discuss licensing rights, but in the short term I can get you running again within an hour. My consulting fee for that service will be $1,000. Why did you not bring this up when you were fired? You could have offered to sell a yearly license key or something like that. Some managers have the common sense and emotional intelligence of a housefly. Once I got fired from a restaurant that I was a manager at, so I had a key to the restaurant. It was a franchise restaurant. I asked for a letter of recommendation when I was let go and they said no. So I left. They didn't ask for the key. Old boss calls me the next day asking me to bring the key back. I told him I don't know where it is, but I might be able to find it if he finds the letter of recommendation. He said no and that I had to bring it back or else he's have to call corporate and get the whole building rekeyed, and that would look bad on him. He wrote the letter, I returned the key, and I had a better paying job at a nicer restaurant within a week. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.